Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Oded Keet, founder of Edge Garage Solutions, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Oded. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, before we get into all things business, I would love to share with the audience a little bit about you. So feel free to take us back as far as you'd like and share a bit about your backstory.
Wow. So my backstory really goes because it's a little bit diverse, but I would start with the American backstory because I'm originally from Israel. Um, Married to an American wife. We've been living in Israel here and there, like coming back here several times in the past 80 years. And since the war broke in Israel, we moved in permanently. Got a baby over there. She was born like a month before. And then a month later, the war started, and we packed our things and moved here. Very rapidly, I was start working something that I used to do in the past, like here, um, working in garages, garage doors. Um, And that's part of who I am. I'm getting bored and doing the same thing over and over. So I need to have some more interesting things. That's where I opened up the business. Was a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Um, and ever since then, I'm just like working on that, where trying to find myself not working in that, but also working on that. So
Okay.
that's a little bit, really a little bit.
Wow. Well, that is quite a story. And now when did you start the business here in the United States?
So the business itself, actually, it was, if I'm not mistaken, was like a year and a half ago. It was like by the end of 24, something like that. Um, yeah, and I started that. Like I had some like different businesses back in Israel. I've been doing my own thing since I remember myself. It's hard for me to work for someone else. It's really hard for me to do that. But that started here a year and a half ago, and it's also interesting because I never saw myself doing something in the trades. I'm 42 right now, um, and I never imagined myself developing into something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so how did you get into the trades and how did you get into like garages?
So basically, it came out of necessity. I was here in the US like like 14 years ago. And back then, I met some guys to teach me how to do that because I need to do something. I need to have had some income. So I knew already how to do that once we came back, and we came back like in a matter of hours. Like we took a decision. We're leaving Israel by the next day. My wife was on a plane. We didn't really plan that. We didn't really do the whole relocation kind of thing.
Huh?
So the first thing I knew, and we had two options because we could move to Europe or we can move to the US. And so, like in the US, it would be easier.
Mhm.
Um, and once I got here, I knew like that's the first thing I'm going to look for is like something I already did before. It's going to be easier. So on my way here, I hooked up with a company that hired me like even without seeing me. Um, and got off the plane 2 days later, start working, start doing that. And yeah, I couldn't like do that as a technician for too long, although I'm still working with my hands. But as I said, no longer after. It's just like I said, I can do it myself.
Okay, so then you started your own thing. Now, how did you start the company? Was it just just from the skills you learned from the first company and you started your own, or how did that happen?
So for me, it was interesting because everything I know it from a very Israeli perspective, which like things work different over there. From like the formality of it and also how people do business. Like I must say, like I'm in school right now of how business are really being done because I feel here in the US things are being played differently. So it was like opening up a business, doing all the formal stuff, but understanding something, I said it before, understanding something that my goal right now to begin with is no longer to have a you know, solo only based on me kind of business is something that I want to scale into something that would teach me and take me through a process of really learning how to run a business in a wider scale. And that thing seemed to be like a good opportunity. I know how the technical part works. It's not that difficult to get to learn that. And every day now I'm just like getting more and more experience and like learning new stuff in how to actually not just have a business, but to grow a business.
Definitely. So, currently, are you the sole, like you're the obviously the sole founder? Do you have any
Mhm.
other employees currently, or is that something you're working towards now?
So I'm working towards like having like really W-2 in-house workers. It's always like I think because I've been talking to a lot of people in the service, home service trades, and it's like always the equation of like leads and actual work that we can provide to other people and like the seasonality of that because it's a very seasonal kind of thing. Like right now we are in the end of the season of like tax season.
Mhm.
So things start to like take off from here, but it's like always kind of a struggle between like having your own people. So like right now I'm working really hard and like having steady stream of leads so we can have like not 1099 that just comes and goes seasonally, but people that are in-house, we can train them hopefully also to grow them into like down the line a year, 2 years from now, like team builders, team managers, and moving on from there.
That's great. And now, what is something like, what is let's go with next year goal, like in this next 12 months, and then we'll go into some bigger goals. So, what's something where you want to see the company go in the next year?
Um, Up in the next year, I'll be humble and I'll say really seeing the foundations properly put into place in a way that I can be waking up in the middle of the night and I know my numbers by heart because I checked it yesterday or the day before, but also at the same time, um, being able to really plan on things that would, no matter what would happen, well, you know, if we're going to have another pandemic or a big war or something that's really going to shake the economy, it's going to affect, but something that I can plan on and is not necessarily like on a daily basis or like a weekly basis can change. So like plans that are actually would be easier to implement month by month.
Oh, wonderful. And then
Yeah.
where do you see the company going to in the next, say, 3 years?
In the next 3 years, as for us, I would definitely want to see a hold of it's on the operational part, but that's what I'm building right now, and I really want to see that happening, is that the company got different teams where each one of them is in charge of different part of taking care of garages. So it's like there's like 3 layers right now, which is like the repairs, installation, basic things. The second thing would be like remodeling, which is um epoxy floors, cabinet, all the beautiful stuff that you can put in a garage to make it look nicer and places you want to spend time in. And the third layer is like the maintenance of the garage, which is not just the door themselves, is organizing garages and like constantly like 2 to 3 times a year, someone would get there and just give them the solution of like organizing the whole space so it would be not turned into an awful storage, but something big. So 3 years from now is something that run by itself, hopefully as a like 3 layers of operation that we would do.
Mhm.
And to scale into the whole area of like Killeen to San Antonio and maybe even a little bit further than that.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so now we've covered some of the places you want to go with your company. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're faced right now with getting from A to B?
Wow. Time? Time
Okay.
management, I guess.
What about time management is the biggest challenge?
I think like, it's time management, but it would be also prioritizing. Because
Mm,
honestly, that's what it is. It's like prioritizing how long and when to deal with things that are really necessary for the wider picture of the like, the biggest scale of like the business, or dealing with the nitty-gritty of the everyday that sometimes just like it's not prioritized like properly in a way that I can be in the middle of something that really require my attention and I'll get a message or an email and just like would kick me out of what I'm doing and I would have to deal with that. So I think that's the biggest obstacle right now. And another obstacle, I'm working in or like I'm right now in a very saturated market where there are a lot of companies in not that big of a market compared to like other big cities, especially in Texas. Um, so it's like really pushing myself out of my niche into places that are not explored yet that much. So, and try to educate the market basically for a need that I know that they can have, but they don't know it's available yet.
yes. So how are you looking at making those, I guess it would be like marketing goals, or how are you reaching
Mhm.
people right now?
So right now I'm using multiple channels. One of them would be basic 3 layers of Google, which is like Google Maps, Google LSA, and Google Ads. Um, but I'm really working on finding more creative ways. There's also networking, but I'm really trying to figure out like more creative ways to a different product that's where I'm trying to push myself out of the market that I'm in, is to approach dealership and places where they got a need for a service that we do, is like converting smaller garage doors into like a bigger one. And that's
Hmm.
a niche that almost nobody's doing the whole thing. Like some garage door companies would give you a door, constructors would give you the frame, but nobody do the whole process like from A to Z in the same day. And that's where I'm trying today to really get out of my box of like thinking the same way of like really approaching different people that can help me to push it out. Realtors, car dealerships, also construction companies that don't want to face that, so or well, don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's like a golden nugget of this conversation is like thinking outside the box or thinking out, as a business owner, how can we grow and maybe it's a
Mhm.
pivot. So thank you for sharing about that. Now, as an entrepreneur, I want to hear about your day to day. Are you now, as you're growing the business, are you working more in the business or on the business, or is it right now just a lot of both?
So it's a lot of both, and somehow like the week started to shape into something interesting. So Mondays I would start with an action coach meeting. So it's like a good kickoff for the week where you're like understanding what you should do and what you haven't done yet, but it kind of like setting goals for the week. Um, but then I would wake up pretty early to start working on things where nobody's waking up yet. I'm like a dad for like a 2.5-year-old toddler. So It's like waking up pretty early, working on the business, starting that, doing some meetings. There would be more of like one-on-ones, networking meetings, and then pushing to like 2.5 or 3 days of more dense, like actual work, you know, in the business. Um, and then by the end of the week, also like reducing a little bit of that to keep up with more things that I need to do on the business. So it's like, and trying to find sometimes in between while I'm driving, talking a lot with ChatGPT, which make a lot of things easier and faster. So I'm really feel blessed that I'm in an era that I can have an assistant and a developer and doing a whole lot of stuff that I would need to do by myself while driving.
ChatGPT is a great tool. Yes, especially as a business owner. So thank you for sharing about that. Now, looking at the business currently and where you see the progress going, what is one thing, like if I were to like give you a magic wand right now, that if you
Mhm.
had the opportunity to change one thing about your business, what would it be?
About my business or about the world?
About we could dive into that on another episode. But about your business, like what's something you would rapidly improve if you had a magic wand?
Wow. Um, I think it would be interesting question. I think it would be probably starting earlier, like making a time machine to start way earlier the first time 14 years ago when I was here, like starting back then with opening up a business and staying consistent ever since. That would be the main thing. But like to change in the business, I think like it's a lot got to do, and I must say I feel right now is a lot got to do with the experience and like the consistency, like the ever going lessons that every day can teach you. And of course, like, adding more like clients and reviews to your business. But I think the majority, like the biggest thing is like what you actually take from what you're doing, not just working in the business again. It's like what, not the money that you make, because you can lose it tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's what you experience. So when whatever happens, you can redo it because you know already how it's been done.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now I want to take us into a fun rapid fire Q&A. So I'm going to ask you three questions and just answer very top of mind.
Okay.
All right, question
I'll
number
try.
one. What, no, question number one is what is the key to success for you?
Consistency. Like
Good.
literally consistency. You don't like it, just keep on doing that. It will eventually flourish.
Definitely. Number two is what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Start early. When you got the idea, just like go do it, fail as much as you can, but it's just like don't hold on that too much. Just move on. Go it.
Mm, okay. And the third one is what is it could be a book, a podcast, an article, just something you've taken in that's resonated with you.
Um, wow, I don't remember the name of the book of Russell Brand. Russell Brand? What is his name? The guy that doing the funnel. One of his
Mm,
first books, like storytelling something. It was a really good book that really made me understand like how people perceive information so I can communicate better. And as for business, I'm right now reading this book that I must say that is also mind-opening called Endless Customers by the guy that wrote They Ask You Answer about honesty and not being afraid to say what clients want because you're just hiding some truth that anyway they're gonna figure out. So As stupid as it may be, but I think it's like more in a moral way of like doing business. It's like just be honest, be you, be whatever. Things would work.
Hmm, definitely. I just wrote that one down. I'm going to check it out. Well, thank you for answering the rapid fire. This has been a great conversation. So before we get to our final question of the day, how can people get connected with you and your business online?
So there's the website, edgegaragedoorstx.com. Um, Also there's like YouTube, Facebook, Edge Garage Doors. But mainly would be the website. Feel free to communicate. We would really like that. I would really like that. But yeah, that would be the easiest way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, the final question of today. So what is most inspiring to you today?
Wow, what is most inspiring today? It would be cliche to say my daughter. Um, I'll say nature. Nature. Like I got a balcony that's like right in front of a beautiful creek. And that thing doesn't stop no matter what happens. It regenerate itself, rejuvenate itself, renew itself every time. And that's every morning I'll learn a lot from that, just like quietly watching that.
Hmm, definitely. Well, that
It's
was very,
important.
it is. It is. Just keep going and yeah, work through everything that comes your way. So this was a great, great conversation. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.